Welcome. Today we're diving deep into the real world of Vikings, beyond the myths, into the surprising truths of these legendary seafarers. Let's start with the basics. When we talk about Vikings, we're not describing a single people or ethnicity. Instead, Viking was actually a job description. In Old Norse, the word meant pirate raid, and it referred to those who set out on expeditions, often by sea, to raid, trade, or explore. So being a Viking was more about what you did than who you were. The people we call Vikings were mostly Norsemen, men and women from the Scandinavian region. Vikings came from Scandinavia, specifically the lands we now know as Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. This region is famous for its dramatic fjords, dense forests, and long, cold winters. Life here was tough. The climate was harsh, and the land was often rocky and difficult to farm. With limited fertile soil and short growing seasons, people had to be resourceful just to survive. These challenging conditions played a huge role in shaping the Viking spirit. The struggle to find enough food and resources pushed many Scandinavians to look beyond their homeland. They became skilled at building ships and navigating the seas, setting out in search of new opportunities, whether that meant raiding, trading, or settling in distant lands. But it wasn't just desperation that drove them. The Norse were also incredibly innovative. They became master shipbuilders, developing advanced techniques for their time. Their communities worked together to build longships, sleek, sturdy vessels that could handle the roughest seas and navigate shallow rivers. These clinker-built longships were a technological marvel. Their overlapping planks made them both strong and flexible, allowing them to travel quickly and maneuver easily. Vikings could sail across open oceans, slip up winding rivers, and even land directly on beaches, something few other ships could do at the time. This gave the Vikings a huge advantage. With their ships, they could launch surprise raids, establish new settlements, and open up trade routes. They didn't just take, they also brought goods to trade, ideas to share, and skills to teach. Their journeys connected distant cultures and changed the course of history. Vikings traveled far beyond Scandinavia. They reached as far as North Africa, sailed into the Mediterranean, and established trade routes that stretched across continents. Their influence can be seen from the British Isles to the Middle East and even as far as North America. So, while the word Viking might conjure up images of fierce warriors and brutal raiders, remember, they were also skilled navigators, ambitious traders, and remarkable innovators. Their legacy is much more than just battles. It's a story of exploration, adaptation, and the drive to discover what lies beyond the horizon. Vikings weren't just raiders, they were explorers who traveled astonishing distances. They sailed east into Russia and the Byzantine Empire, and west to Iceland and Greenland. Leif Erikson even reached North America, calling it Vinland, nearly 500 years before Columbus. Their settlements in North America didn't last, but their voyages proved their ambition and skill. Vikings crossed the Atlantic without modern navigation, an incredible feat. So next time you hear Viking, think explorers, not just raiders. They connected worlds that had never met before. Viking society was more than just warriors and raids. While their reputation as fierce fighters and seafarers is well known, the reality of their daily lives was far richer and more complex. The Vikings built thriving communities across Scandinavia, where people worked together to survive the harsh northern climate and make the most of their resources. Their villages were centers of activity, filled with the sounds of daily chores, laughter, and storytelling. Women played a vital role in Viking society, far beyond what many might expect. They had rights that were unusual for the time, such as owning property, managing households, and even running businesses. Women were often responsible for the economic well-being of their families, overseeing farms, trading goods, and ensuring that the household ran smoothly, especially when men were away on voyages. Viking women could inherit land and wealth, initiate divorce, and wield surprising influence for the era. Some even participated in legal assemblies known as the Thing, where their voices could be heard in matters of law and community decisions. This level of autonomy set Viking women apart from many of their contemporaries in Europe. The Thing was a unique form of early democracy, where free men, and sometimes women, gathered to debate laws, settle disputes, and make important decisions for the community. These assemblies fostered a sense of shared responsibility and justice, and were central to Viking governance. Their legal system was surprisingly sophisticated, covering everything from inheritance and property rights to personal injury and trade agreements. Laws were often passed down orally, but some were inscribed on stones or recorded by scribes, ensuring that justice was accessible to all. Most Vikings were not warriors, but farmers, fishermen, and craftspeople. They worked the land, fished the rivers and seas, and honed their skills in workshops, producing tools, clothing, and goods for their families and communities. Life revolved around the changing seasons and the need to work together to thrive. Family was at the heart of Viking life. Evenings were spent gathered by the fire, sharing stories and passing down traditions. Skilled craftsmanship was highly valued. Vikings created intricate jewelry, beautifully carved woodwork, and practical yet elegant tools, all reflecting their creativity and resourcefulness. The artistry and legal traditions of the Vikings reveal a society far more nuanced than the stereotype of ruthless raiders. Their artifacts and laws tell the story of a people who valued order, beauty, and community. Vikings were lawmakers, artisans, and explorers, not just raiders. Their skills in shipbuilding and navigation allowed them to travel far and wide, forging connections with distant lands and cultures. Their daily lives were rich with tradition, community gatherings, and celebrations. Festivals, feasts, and ceremonies brought people together, strengthening the bonds that held Viking society together and ensuring their legacy would endure for centuries. Viking ships were engineering marvels that made their voyages possible. The iconic longship was long, narrow, and shallow, perfect for rivers and open seas. Clinker-built overlapping planks made them strong yet light, and their symmetry allowed quick reversals. A single mast and square sail gave them speed and agility. Shipbuilders crafted each plank by hand, achieving remarkable precision. These ships weren't just transport, they were symbols of Viking ingenuity. Their design let Vikings raid, trade, and explore like no one else. The longship was the heart of Viking expansion. Forget horned helmets, Vikings never wore them. That image comes from later artists, not history. Vikings were surprisingly well-groomed, using combs and tweezers. They wore tunics, trousers, and cloaks, often decorated with jewelry. Wealthier Vikings had finer clothes and more elaborate accessories. Some evidence suggests they had tattoos, possibly for clan or religious reasons. Vikings cared about their appearance and took pride in their culture. The real Viking look? Stylish, practical, and proud. Viking religion was a rich tapestry of gods, myths, and rituals. Their beliefs were passed down through stories, not a holy book. Odin, Thor, and Freya were central figures, but giants, elves, and dwarfs also played roles. Warriors hoped to reach Valhalla, feasting and fighting for eternity. Religion shaped daily life, sacrifices, rituals, and a strong sense of fate. Their myths taught courage, honor, and the importance of legacy. Norse gods weren't just comic book characters, they were the heart of Viking worldview. Their faith influenced every aspect of Viking society. Vikings were as much traders as they were raiders. Their ships carried furs, honey, timber, and slaves south, returning with silver, silk, and spices. Trade routes stretched from Scandinavia to Byzantium and the Middle East. Everyday goods like wool and salt were also exchanged, connecting distant communities. Viking artifacts have been found from Ireland to Iraq, proving their global reach. Trading posts and settlements expanded their influence and wealth. Vikings shaped the medieval economy as merchants and explorers. Picture them in bustling markets, not just on the battlefield. Vikings weren't illiterate, they had their own alphabet runes. The Futhark runes were carved on wood, bone, metal, and stone. Rune stones commemorated the dead, told stories, and boasted achievements. Runes were used for everyday messages too, property marks, love notes, even shopping lists. These inscriptions offer a window into Viking humor, beliefs, and daily life. Runology continues to reveal new insights into their world. Viking runes are a lasting legacy of their culture and communication. The end of the Viking Age was not marked by a single dramatic event, but rather by a slow and complex transformation that unfolded over generations. The world of the Vikings gradually faded as new forces shaped the lands they once dominated. As the climate warmed, the harsh northern lands became more fertile, making farming more reliable and attractive. Many Vikings who once set sail in search of wealth and adventure found new purpose in cultivating the land, building communities, and raising families. The promise of a stable life at home began to outweigh the risks of distant raids. Meanwhile, European kingdoms learned from years of Viking attacks. They built stronger fortifications, organized better defenses, and developed new strategies to protect their people. As a result, raiding became less profitable and far more dangerous for would-be Viking warriors. The spread of Christianity also played a crucial role. As more Scandinavians converted, their beliefs and values shifted. The church connected them to the wider European world, encouraging peace, trade, and diplomacy over violence and plunder. At the same time, powerful new kingdoms emerged in Scandinavia. Local chieftains were replaced by kings who unified their people, established laws, and created lasting institutions. These changes brought stability and a new sense of identity to the region. The Vikings did not simply disappear. Many became rulers, merchants, and skilled artisans, blending their traditions with those of their neighbors. Their influence could be seen in art, language, and daily life across Europe. The legacy of the Vikings endures in the genetic makeup and cultural traditions of countless Europeans today. Their adventurous spirit, innovative skills, and stories of exploration continue to inspire people around the world. The end of the Viking Age was not a defeat, but a remarkable transformation. The Vikings adapted to a changing world, and their way of life evolved into something new. Their stories, traditions, and values were passed down through generations, leaving a lasting mark on the lands they once called home. Even today, the Viking spirit lives on, celebrated in festivals, remembered in family traditions, and reflected in the enduring culture of Scandinavia. The Viking legacy is everywhere. Language, place names, and culture. English words like berserk and knife come from Old Norse. Place names across Britain and France reflect Viking roots. Norse mythology inspires art, literature, and even movies today. Their shipbuilding techniques still influence traditional boatmaking. Archaeology keeps revealing new facets of Viking life. Vikings were more than raiders. They were explorers, artisans, and storytellers whose influence endures. Thanks for joining this journey into Viking history. Share your favorite fact below, and keep exploring the stories that shape our world.